I'm just going to do a very final check. We're all trying things out for the first time. So let me just check that no one's desperately trying to call me. So, hello everyone. Normally I try not to do business at the start of the service, but I must ask, since it's the first time in this room, Brian, can you see me clearly on the screen? And also, if anybody online is having problems with the sound, please do let myself and Brian know. I'm just going to move this as close to myself as I can, and hopefully you can all hear me clearly. So, hello and welcome to this, our first service of the new year and the first in our new home here at Jesmond United Reformed Church. So welcome to everyone who's joined us, whether you're here in Newcastle in our room or you're online. I think you all know me, but I'm Louise Reeve and I'm a lay worship leader here. So for anybody online, I have put the order of service in the chat, and we have also put a document with the lyrics of our hymns in. We just wanted to be sure that people could get them easily. So you might like to have a look in the chat and just find those two things. We're not going to be able to show the lyrics on screen today. Although you can always just listen or just sing along and go la 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 if you can't remember the words. That's what I do half the time anyway. We are recording our service today, but it will only, this camera is only focused on me. So, business out of the way. I'll light our chalice soon, but first let me begin, as we always begin at Newcastle on Tyne Unitarians, with our statement of the values we hold in common. Though we may hold many different beliefs, as a community, these are the values we share. Newcastle on Tyne Unitarians welcome all who seek the meaning of life and who believe that human spirituality is wider than any one tradition and deeper than any one set of opinions. With a respect for our Christian origins, we seek to explore truths from all sources. Our fellowship gives us strength and encouragement in daily living. And now let us light our chalice. So I can get out these matches from this box. I always seem to get one match that will not quite strike correctly. Might I ask everyone to imagine that we've lit the chalice because those matches really are not playing ball today. Hopefully this isn't an omen of anything other than that we need some new matches. So, this is The Ongoing Quest by Alex Bryanson. We are a community of faith which is a particular kind of community, one which is free to quest for our own ways of being spiritual and religious. We gather together today, this morning, in this new year, to think about how we have done this until now and how we might do this from now on. We are none of us the same as we were 20 years ago or even last week. We are none of us the same as we shall be in 5 weeks or 10 years. As the paths of our lives cover new terrain, may we find helpful new thinkers, concepts and understandings of spirit or of the highest good in life, and new ways to interpret those we have loved long and hard. And may we be open to the voice of wisdom, wherever and however we find it. Our first reading is The Glove in the Subway. If it does that line, I suppose.
Okay.
The Glove in the Subway. A one-paragraph newspaper article describes a subway platform during the morning rush hour at Grand Central Terminal. A train pulls in. A well-dressed woman gets on. Before the doors close, the woman realises that she is holding only one of her leather gloves. She looks back into the train and spots the matching one on the seat. It is obviously too late to dash back in to retrieve it, so with a cavalier shrug, she flings her arm out and, the doors about to close, tosses her glove onto the seat alongside its mate. The doors shut and the train pulls away. What a great image. One could use it, I suppose, as a metaphor for facing the inevitable, or arguing for an orderly universe, or even, with a little stretch, for sharing the good things in life. But as we move forward, the metaphor that comes to mind is the one of letting go. To throw a favourite leather glove into the oblivion of a moving train must involve small pangs of uncertainty, pangs of some degree of loss, pangs of upset. After a lifetime of struggling not to lose our mittens, then our gloves, cavalier abandonment does not come easy. In my home of New England at least, our pattern is to cling as we cling to our gloves, to routine hard work and obligation, all fall, all winter, and right through to the 4th of July. But then, later in the year, there is the letting go. We close up our schools and our churches, put our overcoats in mothballs and dust off the swan boats, the lobster pots, and last year's new gas grill. We need that. We need to toss that glove of responsibility back into the train. We need a vigorous and decisive toss about now to free ourselves of the confining gloves of life, even if we love them. And the train is about to leave. We will now share a responsive prayer. The words are on the back of the order of service. If you are online, it should be in the PDF. So if you have an order of service, please find that now. If you don't, I think there's one there at the chat. You will join with me in saying the words on the back in bold. Divine Spirit, truth within who makes all things new, we bring before you the year now ended. Thank you for your presence in our lives. For life, for good, for opportunities recognised and taken, for love known and shared, we thank you. Thank you for your presence in our lives. Where we have fallen short, may we be forgiven. When we worry over what is past, may we be freed. Thank you for your presence in our failures. As we begin again and take our first few steps into the future, where nothing is safe and certain except you, we ask for the courage of the wise men who simply went and followed a star. Thank you for your presence in our uncertainty. Like them, we ask for wisdom in choosing to pursue the deepest truth, not knowing where we may be led. Thank you for your presence in our doubt. In the year to come, may the divine spirit, truth within, be our help and company. Thank you for your presence in our progress. Hold our hand as we journey onwards, and may our dream of a world at peace be our guiding star. Thank you for your presence in our future. Obviously, this is our New Year service, and it is the first service in this one of our two new homes. I'm going to try and drop in the blind, see if it makes it a little easier for people to see me. So it's interesting with New Year, trying to do a New Year service, because it's very much a ritual, it's also rather a secular one. There are certainly New Year rituals in many cultures around the world, but Christianity, interestingly, doesn't seem to have a specific New Year ritual. And whilst I do not draw only from Christianity, it tends to be a tradition that inspires me, because I was brought up as a Methodist. But it's interesting to read about how others have approached this from the point of view of faith. This was written by Tim Atkins. It's called Meeting the New Year. Tim Atkins is a Unitarian Universalist speaker from the United States. And he comments, this is a quote he begins with from Madhulika Sharma. When hardships come into your life, it breaks you for a while, but when it is done with, you evolve into a new person. And he writes, New Year's is my favourite winter holiday. Since 2015, I've engaged in a ritual of reflection and intention that's dear to me, choosing a word to serve as my grounding for the upcoming year. I begin this practice by reflecting on my words of prior years: joy, embrace, explore, delight, authenticity, roots, blossom. Over time, my memories become infused with the spirit and the vibe of the word I chose for that year. For example, last year I chose blossom as my word for 2022. He wrote this at January of last year. And over the past year, I can recall thinking of how I was blossoming into a more fully realised version of myself. The next part of my ritual involves taking stock of different threads happening in my life and thinking about my hopes for the upcoming year. I narrow them down into one feeling and try to put a word to that feeling. One of the things most on my mind, and one of the things I love most about Unitarian Universalism, is our commitment to periodically assessing our beliefs and discerning whether they should evolve. I'm proud to belong to a living religious tradition that embraces evolution, both scientifically and spiritually. But deeply personal elements inform this ritual too. In December, my sole surviving grandparent, my maternal grandmother, passed away. She was the last member of that generation in my family, and with her passing, I've evolved to a new stage of life. It feels right for me to meditate on evolution this coming year. Evolve is going to be my word for 2023. Change can be scary, but evolution is exciting. How am I going to evolve to meet the challenges of this new era we live in? What's the one word you want to reflect on during the upcoming year? What's the one word you want to remember your new next year by? The dawning of a new year is the dawning of a new chance. A chance to right the wrongs we know we committed, to recommit to the life we choose to live and to reflect. It's a chance to start the next chapter in our story. And Tim Atkins offers a prayer here, which I think is based on the Serenity Prayer, which I think most of us will know. If I read it out, you'll probably spot the resemblance. Give us wisdom as we reflect on our truths and our true intentions. Give us strength as we examine our lives with honesty and with faith. Give us courage as we dare to dream. So, as part of this, I wanted to give us all a little bit of chance to think about the new year, what's coming up. Some of us may have made New Year's resolutions. Some of us may have resolved to never make any New Year's resolutions ever again, because it saves time that way. My New Year's resolutions, if anyone's interested, were meditate for 5 minutes a day, drink some more water, get some more sleep, and only do things if I actually think I'll enjoy them. I can recommend that last one. So, as part of thinking, later on in this service, we are going to have in Unitarian Universalism, which is a tradition that does go into the new year, they have something called the Burning Bowl. I would very much like to have had the Burning Bowl, but a quick conversation with the people who are renting this room to us indicates that the insurance company really isn't on board with us setting fire to pieces of paper. So I've adapted it a bit, and we'll be doing it a bit later on. And that will be a chance for us to think about what we want to let go of from the years that have gone, and what we want to focus on in the years that are coming. So, but this is actually coming up now, a meditation in which we'll have a chance just to reflect on what it is like to try new things. So, with that in mind, can I invite everyone to close their eyes and think of a time that you tried something new. It may be the first time you rode a bike, or your first kiss, or the first time you tried a type of food that you were convinced you wouldn't like. Perhaps it was the first time you tried a new spiritual practice, meditation or visualization, or prayer, or elaborate ritual. Perhaps you did something scary. Some people may have done parachute jumps. Some of us may have sailed canoes. Some of us may just have done something that we didn't think we could do. Let us take a moment to think of that evening. Now, let's try to remember how it felt before you did it. Were you scared, resisting, apprehensive, hesitant? Was there someone there to help you get over your fear? What did they do? Were they supportive and kind, or did they push you into it? Were they trying to did they say they were being cruel to be kind? Let us take a moment to think about how it felt before we tried that new thing. Now, try to remember how it felt while you were doing it. Did fear change to enjoyment? If it did, what kind of enjoyment was it? Quiet satisfaction? The relief of knowing you'd done it and survived? Or wild exhilaration? Or something else? Let's take a moment to think of that. Now, let's try to think about how it felt afterwards. Did you want to do it again? Did it make you more willing to try new things? Did it change how you felt about yourself? Let's hold the memory of these feelings in our minds. When you are ready, open your eyes or return your attention to the room and to your companions here. Our third reading is I Am a Unitarian by the Reverend Ant Howe. For me, Unitarianism is a form of religion and a philosophy. More than this, it is a pathway, a way of life. There are ways to be a Unitarian presence in this world and ways to live Unitarianly. As a Unitarian, I cannot just believe whatever I want, but whatever I can and must. My Unitarianism causes me to question my beliefs often, to seek after truth, and to be open to new insight, both human and divine. Unitarianism teaches me that revelation is not sealed, that God did not speak just to one book and one person, but that more light and truth can break forth anywhere and anytime where hearts are truly open. In my Unitarian way of being religious, faith and skepticism join hands and coexist quite happily. When it comes to religion, I can say that something seems true to me when it resonates in my heart and my mind, but I cannot claim to have the monopoly on religious truth. Life, love, God, mystery, awe are all things to be explored rather than labelled and copyrighted. My own Unitarian journey links me with the liberal Christian tradition, where Jesus is my teacher and example. I hear his words, God is one, come echoing down the centuries, and those commandments that he said were the greatest, that we should love God, love others, and love ourselves. Being a Unitarian has helped me do these things, even learning to love myself, which was the most difficult part. I no longer feel guilty about who I am, and what I can't believe. For the first time in my life, I was able to say, like Jesus, that God and I are one. And this oneness with God and with humanity causes me to seek after justice, to value diversity, and to try to make good decisions. I have still got some way to go, even after all these years, but I keep trying. Unitarianism has its own rich history and theology, but our welcome is wide when it comes to different beliefs. Worship is important to Unitarians. I can worship on my own, and I do, but my life is enriched when I worship with others. Our churches, chapels, and fellowships are places where beloved community can be found, where we can worship, socialise, discuss, and just be together. The person sitting near me might not believe exactly the same as me, but when I am with other Unitarians, I know I am with kindred spirits. When I became a Unitarian, I found the thing I didn't even know I was looking for. It was the piece of the jigsaw I did not know was missing. It changed my life, and that's why I dedicate myself to sharing it. Don't worry, Unitarians are not into converting people. I can't promise you a ticket to heaven if you join us, or threaten you with hell if you don't. But I share it because, having found such an amazing blessing, it would be selfish just to keep it to myself. So, Aunt Hal, I had a certain personal connection to. He was one of the people who did the worship leading course, which I undertook some time back. Time does fly, doesn't it? I did that course in the midst of the thing we don't speak about much anymore, the pandemic. Perhaps that's for the best, but sometimes it is interesting thinking of that. Sometimes it seems as though we hasten forward, sometimes it seems as though we dwell too much upon the past. Something that spoke to me very greatly in that reading was reaffirming the positive things about being a Unitarian. Recently, I was lucky enough to be in a conversation with some international Unitarians, and many of us felt that sometimes we can be too keen to define ourselves as what we are not. We are not this, we are not that. I suppose a resolution I've undertaken as a person and as a worship leader is to focus on all the things that Unitarianism is. And I think that's going to be important for us here in Newcastle, thinking about what we are. We no longer have our gigantic building. It's gone off to Northumbria University to be turned into a lecture theatre and a place of learning. And whilst in many ways I think we are sad to see that happen, in other ways I think it's obvious that it needed new owners who could look after it properly and refurbish it. So perhaps that is something of a thing. Well, you can overstretch the metaphor for life being too much, but perhaps there is something in that mix of sorrow and joy intermixed. And perhaps when our old building is refurbished, we'll be able to go back there and see it. And we're going to see if some parts of it can be named after famous members of our congregations who serve this city. So the church is not its building, but I did want to mention what's happening because I know so many people have been wondering about that. But now we are going to do something simple together. I hope this is going to work. As with this entire service, I am trusting in my community's forgiveness and generosity of spirit if it does not, because we're trying new things. You'll have noticed that your order of service has a picture of fire on the front. That was inspired by the American Unitarian Universalist tradition. They have something called the burning bowl or fire communion. There's probably a joke in there somewhere about whether fire communion is what happens when you fail to bake the bread on the right temperature, but it's an obvious joke, which hasn't stopped the baking it. Because I thought that it would be simpler for us if we adapted this a bit. We're going to have this after our next hymn, but I did want to just let everyone know what was happening. We're going to have a pen and paper each, and the idea behind this is that it's usually held on the first Sunday in January when Unitarian Universalist congregations in the US and Canada, so here, gather to bid farewell to the old year and release it, and then to welcome in the new. The Reverend Elizabeth Harding comments, fire communion separates the end of the year from the beginning. It helps us to put in perspective the joys and sorrows, the changes and transitions, the ups and downs of the year. It's a celebration of the calendar's year's end and the New Year's beginning. In the traditional ceremony of the burning bowl, people are invited to write down words or a phrase to sum up what they want to release before entering the new year. Traditionally, they would come forward to burn that piece of paper in a big bowl, but instead what we are going to do is write things down, and then when we want to release them, we will tear the paper in half. I will guide everyone through this. Let us sit, relax, take a few deep, slow breaths. Let our minds slow down. And if thoughts enter our head and distract us, accept them, let them be, and let them pass by. If it's important, you will remember it later. Let us now think about the year just gone. What would you like to release about it? This might be great, it might be small. If it matters to you, that is what is important. When you have thought about what you would like to release about the year just gone, please write it down when you are ready. Let us now hold what we want to release and let go of in our minds, and tear our piece of paper in half. Now let us take a few moments to contemplate our hope for the year to come. Think about what you would like to have happen and what you'd like to do in this year. And when we have finished writing that down, let us hold in our minds what we hope for in the new year that has just come. And we will now have our closing words. The Clarity of Winter by Reverend Cliff Reed. The old year and its turning is behind you. In the spareness and clarity of winter, see the promise of a new year. Sense the possibilities forming within you. Feel the silent stirring of life beneath your feet. The nights are still long, but they're getting shorter. The days are still dark, but they're getting hotter. Nature still seems to sleep, but she is awakening. Winter is preparing the earth for spring. Let us give thanks. May it be so.